What is going on, YouTube? PPS back here. It is Past the Prop Friday edition. We're coming at you guys with some question and answer spots. We got 4 total props here for you guys. Joined as always by my guy Monotone Football. How we doing? How we feeling, man?
Yeah, I've been better. Got some like flu stuff going on or something like that. But can't miss past the prop. Got to battle through. Hoping for like a Jordan flu game today, right? Maybe we get a nice little sweep. Honor the hard work right there. But our last show went well, despite the fact that game was one of the most disgusting anyone has ever had to sit through. We still cashed both of our plays from that show, which is always good to see. So, that made me feel a little bit better last night before I put in my Discord. I'm taking so much NyQuil that hopefully I can forget that game ever existed. It didn't work, but broke the fever a little bit. So at least there were some positives, right?
Yeah, that was a very tough game to watch, to put it lightly, I guess. But yeah, we came out on top. I think we both swept up, so it was awesome. Obviously, Pittman came through for us. Kind of got nervous there. I didn't check what his exact number. I think he was at 55, but I was like, good thing I didn't go with receptions because he didn't get a pass for a full quarter and a half there. So that made me sweat out a little bit, but we got that one. And then Judy plus Wilson. Wilson obviously crushed the 200 for us. Yeah, didn't play well particularly, but yeah, it was good. It was good to get a double up quick, get all of our money ready for this weekend. A nice slate of games here. We talked about a little bit about the DFS side on what day was that? Wednesday already. Man, I'm all over the place with these days and everything. But yeah, there should be quite a few good games. Not as many crazy totals that we've been seeing lately. This one is more of like, I think the max is like 47.5, being the Eagles game, I believe, is the only one that's really up there differently. So let's take a look at who's all in the chat. We got some people in here already. We appreciate you guys. We got Turbo, Strogy, David, and Ryan. Yeah, nice to come in with a nice winner there. Start the day. First off, before we get started, I want to ask you: are you looking at any of these Bills props in this game with 14-point total? But I mean, this team is pretty decimated on the receiving core, right? We have no Crowder, probably not McKenzie as well. I mean, there's a lot of usage to kind of go around there.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially we know the Bills are one of these teams that even when they do get ahead, I mean, they throw, right? They don't run the ball up the middle. They kind of keep the foot on the gas. That's something we like about them a lot on here. It feels hard, though. It feels hard, like just to go to that spot, right, when we have so many games on the board, when they're 14-point favorites, especially remembering what Pittsburgh did to them last year. They slowed down that game. They grinded it out, and they beat the Bills, surprisingly. I'm not saying that happens again. Kenny Pickett's in a brutal spot for his first career start. I mean, this is kind of – it's funny, Mitch Trubisky, the one thing you'd think he might be able to help is he was on the Bills last year, all season. He could maybe provide some kind of – maybe feedback, some insight, but nope. Now Pickett gets a road game against the Bills to start out his career. So I don't know. I mean, Gabe Davis is tempting me on the outside. His number gets lower and lower. The routes are there, right? He's out there on 97% of snaps. He's just been kind of banged up. And I don't know if I want to bet on a guy with kind of a bum ankle, despite reports that it is better this week, but it's tough for me. Maybe Josh Allen longest completion, maybe something like that, where you only need one play. Or hopefully it happens in the first half and you don't have to kind of sweat it out if they're up like 21-3 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, no, like I said, there's a lot of usage to go around, maybe more of like the Singletary type of movement there for those dump offs or something there. Another injury I wanted to talk about here before we kind of get moving is I just saw Rashad Bateman is officially ruled out.
Wow.
It's going to be an interesting game there now that we have a healthy Dobbins, right? We're fully healthy on the running side. Now you lose your number one receiver. Now you face the Bengals, who have struggled, right, defensively. But this offense, I mean, this game just kind of screams Baltimore running and Bengals just throwing that ball around.
Yeah, and the Bengals defense on paper looks really good, but maybe go back and look at some of those quarterbacks they played, and maybe you'll reevaluate how, right, Cooper Rush, well, I don't know, Joe Flacco was one of them. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head right now, but it wasn't impressive, right? Teddy Bridgewater, I think maybe a more competent quarterback, but yeah, who's even there besides Devin Duvernay? I don't like who's even going to catch. Mark Andrews is probably going to catch or have a 50% target share. And also, I just checked Lamar Jackson's rushing lines, just as you mentioned that. Doesn't 56 feel a little bit low for Lamar Jackson? If there's no wide receivers, is he going to run the ball like 15, 16 times, something like that?
Yeah, I think that's something that's definitely a good spot to look for sure. I mean, I don't know how else they're going to move the ball, really, besides running Lamar around there. And I mean, you're probably going to have to see Duvernay. Maybe we see more two tight ends with Likely, the guy they were hyping up in preseason. Maybe that's a spot we go. But another one, I just want to get all these out of the way because it's a lot of stuff that was announced today. Kyle Pitts ain't playing this week either. So is this a Drake London day, or is this just like a completely fade this offense because they suck?
Yeah, what I mentioned this last week, we might see a new quarterback making their first appearance. This is just, I mean, I kind of want to just lay down the 10 for Tampa Bay. I really do. Like, this feels like, such a brutal matchup for Atlanta, just situationally with the injuries, but also just game style, right? Atlanta wants to run the ball. Marcus Mariota completed 7 passes last week. That's not going to work against Tampa Bay. I have no clue what they're going to do, but Drake London now seeing Carlton Davis and safety help on the outside sounds absolutely brutal. I mean, who else do you have to worry about? Hodge, Zacchaeus, like these guys are practice squad adjacent players at least. So I don't know. I kind of was thinking about sprinkling before we saw this news. Obviously, a Kyle Pitts like 80 yards, 90 yards. Is this finally being his explosion game? But obviously, that's not going to happen now. I don't want any part in the Drake London. I understand the target share is insane. It's absolutely insane. I mean, he has like the highest target share out of anyone, not just rookies, just anyone in football. He's like top 5. But with that passing attack, I don't know, man. I don't know how I'm going to attack that game. I'm still trying to figure it out right now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of confused on what's going to even happen. I don't even know if they're going to need Brady to even do too much there, even though they throw the ball 70% of the time right now. It's crazy the amount of passes that Brady's throwing per game. Maybe it's a 4-net game. Maybe he's the spot that we go in like that DFS route, because I don't know if you saw this, but Tom Brady's down to 6K. When's the last time we've seen Tom Brady at 6K ever in any sort of DFS? I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this seems like even beyond any off the field stuff that people are talking about, doesn't this just feel like a Tom Brady, like just destroys the Falcons game, like 350 passing yards, not even for a particular reason. I mean, Atlanta's defense is terrible. We already know that, right? We already know their defense is terrible, but doesn't this feel like a game where Brady might just destroy them? Like he just got kind of embarrassed on primetime last week. It just feels like one of those situations where they just throw all over the Falcons, which is why I mentioned this to you before the show. I like Chris Godwin a lot this week if I can get his numbers, but nothing out right now. So we'll wait and see.
Yes. Yep. John, that's exactly what we're talking about. That's literally what we're saying right now. Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of just messed with my head there. That we're just, Mark Andrews going to get 40% of the targets. Honestly, it might be more, to be honest. Yeah. I don't even know. I think it could quite possibly be like 15 targets out of 30. And I wouldn't be surprised to see 50%.
Everyone in the Pass the Prop contest appreciates you bringing up Isaiah Likely, because I will be playing him again this week. I've played him twice this season, and he scored 0 points in both of those matchups. So I'm going right back to the well with Likely right there. I like that you brought that up.
Yeah, no, I didn't even notice that you played him, to be honest. But
not a good idea.
All right, before we get into it, we're going to let people get in here, right? We got about 30 of you guys in here. If you guys are in here, smash that like button quick. We're going to just talk our favorite spread here. Our favorite spread for this week. I think you already brought up yours. I have to kind of figure out what mine's going to be here, but there's a lot of games that I just feel like could easily just be complete blowouts.
Yeah. I kind of mentioned, like I said, I really am thinking about putting Tampa, maybe a teaser. I'm not really a teaser better, as you already know, but I'm thinking maybe Tampa. The other one that kind of caught me off guard, and I know it does hinge on injury news right here. I've been confused about the Lions Patriots all week long. And I understand I'm not even a Lions guy. I'm not one of those people that all season long has been like, yeah, they, like a big Lions guy, but they've obviously shown that they can contend. They can't play defense, but that doesn't really matter if you're playing against Bailey Zappi. It could be Mac Jones. He's practicing this week. I just don't understand. We've seen so much of this history around these ankle injuries over these last couple seasons, and these guys always come back early, and they absolutely suck. So even if Mac Jones does come back, is there going to be a 3.5 then, or is the market already priced at 3 because of that? I don't know. It feels like the wrong team is favored right here to me. So the Lions is another one that I'm very intrigued by.
Yeah, no, I've been, there's a couple of them here that have just caught my eye, and it's how are the Eagles only a 5-point favorite against a team that should be 0-4. That one caught my eye, and I almost think that your Commanders should be favored in this game too. Like I think they should be favored, and I think that 3.5. They're giving me 3.5 on the Jets, bro. I think I might have to sprinkle that one. Not money line completely, but I think 3.5 is a little bit crazy to me. If it's 3, okay. But you're gonna give me that hook, dude, with Zach Wilson, bro. He's getting followed by Tom Brady's wife, bro. He's coming out to play 450 this week.
Yeah, no, that's a tough one. I was actually really close to betting Miami earlier in the week, but I think I decided that's just a no bet for me. I think, like you said, there's kind of reasons on both sides. I mean, you got to remember Teddy covers, okay? Teddy comes in and Teddy covers. That's his job over there. But I do think that's fair. And the Commanders one, it's hard because it's just I watch this team and they're so bad. They really are. They're so bad, but like they're also kind of good. They have some good players. It's weird. Like it's just not working. It's the offensive line that's been so bad. You'd have to think something changes. That game opened as a pick'em between the Titans and Washington. I think that's probably where it should be. So maybe if it gets to 3, I think it's 2.5 right now. I believe maybe if it gets to 3, that's when I can put a couple bucks there, but it'll hurt even more if they lose because then I lose and I lose my money too. So it's kind of tough.
Well, that Tennessee one, they're not going to have Treylon Burks. What the hell are they going to do? How are they going to throw the ball? And Teddy covers, but I'm pretty sure Teddy's probably been a dog in more games than he's been a favorite. So you're giving me 3.5 points. He's got to cover for me. I don't know. If he's plus, I'll take that. I think he'll cover, but I don't know if he can cover as a favorite though. I don't know. Plus, I think we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But so far on the year, 4.53 units after our 2-0 game yesterday. And I'll kick it over to you here. We will just stick in that game that we were just talking about a little bit. We'll go to your Washington Commanders here.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing right here, Jahan Dotson is now ruled out, for this week with injury. Curtis Samuel, who missed a couple practices, looks like he will play. So Curtis Samuel is in the slot, which I actually kind of like for Terry McLaurin a little bit more. If it's only Terry on the outside and that's all the defense has to hone in. Oh, I'm also sorry. Terry McLaurin over 23.5. I'm playing this for half a unit, by the way. I wanted to throw that out there before I go any deeper. But yeah, Curtis Samuel in the slot does mean that these defenses can't really hone in on him as much. The biggest change we've seen this season in the Carson Wentz offense, the volume has been way down for McLaurin, but the ADOT is his career highest. I mean, all of these targets he's seeing are down the field targets right now. And I mean, Washington's been playing from behind a lot this season. He's hit this in every single game except last week against the Cowboys. If you watch that game tape, I mean, a lot of people are giving a lot of credit to Diggs for locking him down, but man, he held McLaurin an insane amount. Like, I mean, if you watch that game tape and you come back and you can't tell me there were 4, 5, 6 relevant big time plays where he just absolutely was all over him, disrupting the plays, and Washington got nothing from the referees there. That's not even coming from like a biased fan perspective. Like I said, watch the tape for yourself, but man, McLaurin was getting grabbed all over the place. Now he's in a better matchup against a Titan secondary who's been giving up these explosive plays so far this season. So I like McLaurin in this matchup. Like I said, no Dotson on the outside. And also Logan Thomas is now a midweek injury report kind of guy. You never like to see a guy go on the injury report midweek. That might mean Jonathan Bates comes out. The big reason I like this too is game script. I think I like Brian Robinson a lot in this game if he plays. Like, I'm going to play him in his first game, most likely whatever the number is. If it's real high, then maybe not a Twitter play, but a personal play. we overthink these coaching decisions a lot, but I really do think, just to oversimplify it, Ron Rivera is watching that tape from last week going, run the ball, work, throw the ball, no work, run the ball more. Like, I think that's legitimately going to be, we've seen them run more and more every week. Last week, they were even using their third running back on the roster for a couple more rushes, showing that they really just don't love Gibson in that run up the middle kind of role. If they have Robinson, they're going to run the ball a lot. I'm expecting this team to run the ball 23, 24 times tomorrow. And what that means is that opens up those deep threats, that keeps those safeties honest if they're coming in expecting the run. And I think that's what Carson Wentz wants to do here. So one of the guys, I believe, third in the NFL in ADOT, looking at legitimate receivers, not counting, Laviska Shenault, who runs 8 routes a season. He's out there getting the ball, going down the field. I think McLaurin has a good game. So I think he goes over this one. I'd rather play this than yards 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't go on yards for this one either. I'm doing the completion portion of this. I wouldn't do attempts. I really don't know if I'm going to see attempts here go over. But, man, I've just looked at Carson Wentz's numbers here, and the dude's averaging 6 yards per pass attempt. Yeah. That's unbelievable. That's like Geno Smith, like first game of the season where he just chucked the ball down.
Jared Goff from last year, right? When it was just
it's unreal. And the dude hasn't eclipsed a 60 QBR yet this entire season. And he's hit this number in every single game. He's thrown the ball like 40 times. He's thrown the ball 41 times at least every single game. And I get it. I think that you're actually right where they're going to run it a little bit more here. But I also think that the Curtis Samuel news is the biggest news I needed to hear for this, because I think it's just going to be that maybe we run more screens because we have Brian Robinson there. Maybe we do more of the kickoffs right to the side, let Curtis Samuel do something there. But if Curtis Samuel wasn't playing, this was not going to make my card. I think that Curtis Samuel is going to have 4 or 5 catches for probably 8 yards, at least in the air. So I love that. I love to see the attempts being where they're at. And also, if we looked at Washington's pass block advantage the last 3 weeks, it was -30 at least every single time. They have had an awful, awful, awful stretch here going to Dallas, who has the number 1 front 7 in terms of sacks. You have Philadelphia, who we already know is unbelievable right now. And Jacksonville has been putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback as well. Obviously, he had the Lions game in there, and we saw him pop off for 337. But I like your thoughts on the longest reception, but I think that also comes with those little dump downs, and then you do the fake one, and he goes over the top with Terry. That was the exact one that he scored on, I believe, in week 1 when I had Terry yards. This dude is going to just dump it off, and I think that's what's going to activate that big play. I think we also see some screen game from both Gibson and Robinson. I'm really excited to see Robinson play in the scheme. But I really like this completions number. I think this is way too low. I think they assume that they're going to run it more because he's had 25 completions in every single game this year, but also 41-plus attempts. I think we could see just 36 to 38 attempts, but I still don't think it's going to be much of a worry to get here. He's completing over 62% of the passes. I like these dump-offs. I love that Curtis Samuel is there, and I think that Terry McLaurin does get a little bit more activated in this offense this week.
Yeah, no, and I think, if Brian Robinson doesn't play too, because he's not even confirmed to play. They said they're going to see how he feels, and this is an easy over, right? Because they do not trust Gibson to run up the middle over and over again. But I agree with you, even though I think they're going to run more, the way you kind of supplement the bad offensive line is the short passing game, right? Especially Curtis Samuel's the key right here. If his line opens at 4.5 receptions, it missed last week, but it really shouldn't have. I mean, he had an easy catch called back by penalty. He had one where he only had 1 foot down in the end zone. Curtis Samuel's still the same guy that we've been talking about all season long. So I agree with you. And like you said, finally a matchup where the extreme pass rush isn't going to kill them, right? They've had some absolutely brutal matchups. So hopefully that offensive line holds up a little bit better, and he just keeps kind of checking down his way down the field. JD McKissick, Antonio Gibson, all these guys are there for those short little passes. And when they can't get Terry McLaurin involved down the field, he'll get 4 wide receiver screens a game. We run that play more than anyone else in the league because we can't get him involved down the field. So we actually missed on 2 wide receiver screens last week. I know it sounds like an easy play to complete, but that's what we're looking at right here. So I definitely like this one.
Yeah, and I was going to mention 3 out of the 4 teams that have played against Tennessee have hit this number. Josh Allen, Derek Carr, and then Matt Ryan even torched this defense. That's saying something. Matt Ryan just torched these dudes last week. Mo Alley Cox went for, 8 for 85 and 2 touchdowns. Matt Collins went for 160 on these dudes. This is going to be an absolute – I think Carson Wentz is going to be one of those under-the-radar DFS dart throws that actually might come through for you too.
100%.
And let's pop – we're going to go away from the under-the-radar superstars and pop to a pretty big one here for our Pickett play of the week here. I believe people are betting it down at 270 on Pickett. It is 280.5 right now. Justin Herbert facing off against Cleveland. I'll kick it to you. We did cash in on Alec Pierce. Who would have thought he'd be the number 1 receiver there for these guys? But this week we're going to Herbert, Cleveland, decent in the back end. But what's your thoughts here on 280.5 for one of the best quarterbacks in the league?
Yeah, this is tougher for me. I mean, are we factoring in? Is he injured still? I mean, that injury doesn't just go away. Are we? I mean, it's tough for me. I guess it feels like we've all kind of moved on from that. And I mean, his play hasn't decreased that much. So maybe we should. They almost gave away that game against the Texans last week, but that was on the defense. That wasn't on Herbert. He did his job. If you look at the last couple matchups, too, between the Browns and the Chargers, they've been some high-scoring affairs. Obviously, different teams now, but that was something interesting to see. This is a tough one for me. My gut instinct is just to always go over with Herbert. Allen's finally going to play, right? Are we finally going to see Keenan Allen?
I'm going to assume he is. They haven't said anything.
Because I keep trying to warn people that Josh Palmer's bad, and he plays every week, and he went 1 for 25 last week. You can't. It's hard to have a great offense when the wide receiver 2 is, has less yards than DeAndre Carter, right, and some of these other random guys. So if Keenan Allen's back, then I'm going to go over right here. I'm going to say that this is a close game. It's a competitive game. The biggest worry is that Nick Chubb in the ground game just controls the clock. They grind everything down, and they kind of play the game more their style, and they don't let the Chargers play their style. But also, maybe the run defense is so bad that maybe he just breaks a couple 60-yard runs and they get the ball back instantly. Plus Money Bob says Keenan's still not practicing. That's concerning. That's concerning. I'll lean over, but this is a no bet for me this week.
Yeah, I think what I saw was he was doing like indie work on the side, so he's not technically practicing.
Gotcha.
But he did have a week of practice like last week, which was weird, and then didn't play, and then it's just like all over the place with him right now. But yeah, that was through Thursday. I didn't see anything for today. But I will be on the over here as well. Cleveland, I think, might actually have those big runs that you just mentioned. They have a 60% run block advantage in this game. Not a spot that I really like to see if I'm going to be back in the Chargers here, so I won't be on a specific side. I think this game could have shootout potential from just how bad each team is against each side of that spot. So I'll take the over. I love Justin Herbert. This will probably be on my card, to be honest. And let's get to it. If you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comment section there. We'll try our best to get to all of them. I didn't see any of them yet, but if you guys do, drop them in there. We'll see what we can do for you. And I'll kick it over to you. Big fall off last week against a very tough team, but I think you're getting good value on the spot.
It's weird, though. It was a big fall off compared to how he's done this season, but he had 60 receiving yards. I mean, he still was 5 yards away from getting this number. Christian Kirk over 65.5 receiving yards, -110. This is on DraftKings right now. I was hoping FanDuel would post a low number. They've been doing that, but they didn't. They hit us with the 66 right here. So I'll take this one. It was between this and longest reception, or honestly receptions. I like all Christian Kirk props this week. Last week was the first week of the season he didn't hit this number, but that was also because they were in extreme weather conditions, right? And even with the extreme weather conditions, he still almost got there. The biggest thing for me right here was actually Zay Jones. And Zay Jones is playing this week. And some people might go, oh, Zay Jones playing this week is a bad thing. I think it's a great thing because that means Christian Kirk can play where he's best, which is in the slot. Christian Kirk has been playing mostly in the slot this season. Last week, Zay Jones was out, which means they bumped him outside, and I did not like that. That's actually why I did not bet on Christian Kirk this week, last week, even with the weather stuff. Now that Zay Jones should be playing this week, he gets to go back where he's most comfortable. Think of a guy like Sterling Shepard. Do we remember all those years where Sterling Shepard would absolutely demolish in the slot? Then suddenly someone would get injured. He'd go outside and he'd go like 2 for 28. That's just not what he's best at. And same with Christian Kirk. He's a serviceable outside receiver, but he's a really, really good inside receiver. He's been crushing it so far this season. He's almost one. I feel like if Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't having the season he would be having, Christian Kirk's line would be at like 73 every week, right? It feels like this is one of those guys. He's playing on the Jaguars. Now we get a Houston team who everyone's focusing on the rush attack. But I mean, that rush attack is so inconsistent, right? With James Robinson, ETN there, Hasty stealing receptions from me last week. There's a lot going on. A lot of game script stuff can get in the way. I think the one consistent receiver on this team right now is Christian Kirk. So I really like Kirk this week. I'm definitely going to be playing him a lot in DraftKings. Also, the total doesn't feel right in here. This one, 43.5, two teams that, I mean, the Houston defense isn't good. Jacksonville is a pretty good defense. I don't know. It feels like this is an over game. It feels like Trevor Lawrence's lines are still too low. Maybe that's just because you and me are kind of big Jacksonville fans on this show, but I don't know. It feels like there might be a lot of overs in this game.
Yeah, no, they did kind of come out a little low. I was going to actually mention that to you. I just think this whole game just seems off. I don't know if they just think it's going to be run heavy on both sides and they're just going to force Pierce to run the ball 30 times, but I don't know. I think that we could see a Davis Mills kind of game here too. I think Cooks could have a good game. I think there's a lot of guys in this game that kind of stand out to me, or at least check a few of the boxes that initially you want to look at when you're picking out your circles for the week here. But yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. And I love Christian Kirk. You don't have to convince me on this. And speaking of convincing, I've been trying to get you on my hype train. And I'm going to be backing this man, Zach Wilson, baby. I'm going to Zach Wilson over 220.5 passing yards this week against Miami. Obviously, everybody kind of saw what they did last week. Everybody's like, oh, he did all of his work in the fourth quarter and all that stuff. But truly, I really like Zach Wilson's weapons here. I think he actually does a very good job of getting these guys the ball. He hit this number. He had 252 last week. He threw 50% passing. 18 for 36 was his line last week, and he's still 30 yards past this. I love the repertoire we saw with Elijah Moore. I like the repertoire we saw with Corey Davis. Corey Davis, I think specifically, is the one I would look at if I'm going to take a specific guy. But I love Conklin. I've been betting him almost every single week. This dude has been super reliable there. And not even to mention Garrett Wilson, right? There's so many explosive, young, talented guys over here that Wilson doesn't really need to throw the ball deep here. One of the other things that I really like here, Byron Jones is not getting activated. This was supposed to be his first week to get activated. They said he hasn't been progressing as well. That is huge. Byron Jones is a freaking stud. So I'm happy to see him on the sidelines there. Xavier Howard had the groin injury. If he doesn't play, I think all three of these receivers have a chance to have a pop-off game. I really don't think that Miami's going to let these guys run all over them. I know we saw Breece Hall last week kind of do his thing. I like Breece Hall this week, but I like him in the passing game quite a bit as well. Both of the running backs had 2 catches last week there too. So I don't know. I've been a little bit hesitant, at least last year, on Zach Wilson. But now that they have that deep threat over the top now with Garrett Wilson there too, there's just so many weapons here. And if they're going to be down their 2 best secondary guys, I'm going to be all over this spot. I really like Zach Wilson this week to get it done. And I like backing these mediocre quarterbacks. They've been good to me.
Yeah, they really have been good to you. And I have to say, Zach Wilson has been growing on me a little bit as the week goes on.
Yeah.
It's been in my mind even to play this number myself. Now that you're on it, I will definitely be tailing you right here. But it's one of those spots I agree with you. It's going to be hard for them to establish that run in this game, and I think that will help Wilson. And like you said, with these three wide, I mean, this is a legit wide receiver core, right? Wilson,
Yeah.
obviously been one of the best rookies out there. Elijah Moore is very talented, and then Corey Davis. I mean, you can't really. I don't know if there are many teams that have a better wide receiver three on their team. I can't really think of many, to be honest. So it's a team that they still probably need to gel a little bit, get a little bit more used to each other. Remember, Zach Wilson, that was his first game last week. A 3-point spread shows it'll be pretty competitive as well. The one thing that you did say that I disagree with is Breece Hall receiving yards still. It's low. I know a lot of people like it. A lot of smart people like it too, but watching that tape, man, I said this before. I still can't think of a quarterback that I've ever seen before that is worse at passing behind the line of scrimmage, like hitting those short check down kind of guys. I mean, he made some truly, like, he wasn't off balance. Like, he made some legitimately terrible throws that were only 10 yards to the side of him. It wasn't even forward, it was barely a forward pass. So that concerns me. Breece Hall is a stud, so he'll get the work done, but getting the ball to him might be a little bit tough. So I need to see him do it a little bit more before I can transfer. Like I said, I'm sure that's one of their top priorities on what they're working on. But that's my really only complaint out of all that. I told you even before the show, it's kind of fun. You're on Wentz and you're on Wilson. The two guys I was looking at, I was thinking between McLaurin and Corey Davis. So I like Corey Davis in this one. He'll be a sneaky DFS guy too. I mean, Corey Davis, remember, he had a great relationship with Zach Wilson last season, and it obviously showed up last week. Most of his targets were in that fourth quarter, in those two drives that mattered the most is when he was looking for Corey Davis. So I kind of like maybe stacking up both of those guys in a sneaky low price DraftKings, let you play some of the studs elsewhere.
Yeah, no, dude, I just, when I was reading through this whole team, once we saw Conklin kind of take that step forward too, dude, that guy's been good, man, for sure. I love that matchup for him. I agree for sure. I definitely think Conklin's got that, got a good line here for what he's got here. Dude, Jay is on point with you on a lot of these things too. So it's kind of funny that you guys are just like reading each other's minds up here. Because yeah, dude, I think Corey Davis is definitely a good spot DFS wise. Man, that these prices just seem a little bit low in a matchup with Miami, where you still got Tyreek Hill on the other side. That ball could be back to you in a second. So
yep, yeah,
I think that really helps too.
You mentioned Howard too. I mean, this is not the Xavier. Like, he's playing at like 60%. He got pulled last game. He didn't even play the end of last game. I mean, he has that big like wrap or whatever that is on his lower body. So I don't know. Xavier Howard like is someone you should be scared of when he's 100%, but I don't know if we should be scared of like 60. I actually didn't even think he was going to play this week. Obviously, as the reports are coming in, it looks like he will suit up, but a 50-60% Xavier Howard isn't quite as scary as an 100%.
Yeah, no, and even just, I think he, even at like 70%, he's probably better than what else they have.
Yeah,
with just how good he is. But yeah, dude, you could just tell he was just all over the place. His body just did not, like, he knew where he needed to be and he just couldn't get there on time, and it was rough. Yeah, dude, Elijah Moore, yeah, he's talked up from last year, right? They were hyping him up pretty hard last year, so there's still a lot of hype left to go. Brian bringing up that Kirk went up a point or went up a yard on DK. I think someone in here, some of them do kind of move pretty quick. I'm not going to lie. They kind of move a lot quicker than I kind of assumed they would. Jay bringing up my Packers here. They're in London. I don't like betting those London games very much. But dude, I think Dobbs is almost your one. He's pretty much kind of taken over that red zone role too. We've seen him go deep on a lot of occasions. If we're going to pick something, I think Dobbs is definitely the spot to go. I mean, Lazard has his trust, but he hasn't really done anything with his opportunities so far this year. And you still kind of tell he's not 100%. And yeah, I think Dobbs is, if you're going to bet a receiver, it's got to be Dobbs. There's no one else.
Mm-hmm. And well, Dobbs too, he had a fumble last game to start the game off, right? And then he had a dropped catch in the fourth quarter, and he still kept getting targets after that. Normally, Aaron Rodgers, throws you to the shadow realm after you do that. So the fact that they kind of stayed together after that, definitely it almost means more to me than the box score, that he kept going to him, because he really doesn't have that many choices. And Dobbs has been good. All the preseason hype seems to be checking out pretty well so far.
He's just lucky that he had the game that he did before he had all the bad things, because everybody threw Christian Watson to the fucking fire because he missed it on his first attempt. Like, Dobbs killed his first attempt, so people know he can do it.
True.
Now, Christian Watson's just on that sideline right now. He's kind of in a stuck spot because he really doesn't have a huge diverse route tree either. So it's tough for him to kind of get that playing time, even though Randall Cobb's 45-year-old ass is out there. Brian, bringing this up, I'll kick it to you here. Would you prefer the 60 yards or 10 carries?
Ooh, that's tough for me, because for most quarterbacks, I normally do side with carries, right? Just because when you have a mobile quarterback, those 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, those goal line opportunities are where they don't need a 20-yard rush, right? They just need to dive the ball ahead of the line of scrimmage and you get points. Lamar is one of the few guys that will constantly break those 25, 30, 35-yard runs. I haven't looked actually at how he's done against the Bengals. Something in my head tells me he's ran all over the Bengals, but I haven't quite looked at that past history. Yeah, 56 to 59 is a little annoying. Let's see. I don't know. I think I like them both, honestly. I think I'd still go yards probably. That's my first look. I might do something where I bring yards down to 45 and then I bring Higgins receiving yards maybe down to 50 and run like a little same game parlay like that. But yeah, I like them both, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, no, I'm curious how else they're going to move the ball. Like, that's literally what else is popping in my head here. I mean, as a Bengals team, you just got to double Mark Andrews, don't you? Like, that's the only reason why I'm kind of concerned about betting on Andrews here, even though he's probably getting, like we said, about 50% of those targets. Bringing up Zach Wilson on MGM. Yeah, I do not have MGM, so that would be a spot to definitely go if you have that option. Again, guys, for our DFS contest, I'll be posting that after this video. I'll be posting that right in the top of the comments there. So if you haven't signed up already, make sure you do. It's in the description of last video. I know a lot of you guys went through that and messaged me that it was a lot easier doing it that way. So I'll have that out there today. So, yeah, I'll make sure I get that out for you guys if you haven't signed up already. I'm trying to see if we have any other questions. Did you see any of the other ones in there?
Yeah, someone asked us if we had anything for the London game, I guess, which goes with that. But yeah, make sure you guys get your questions in. We have the touchdown parlay to do after this. But yeah, if you have any last minute questions, obviously we know we're competing with playoff baseball right now. So if you guys are watching that, leave them in the comments. We'll still get to those, even if you're not watching live. We obviously appreciate anybody that tunes in. It doesn't just have to be live. For me, the one thing, I haven't posted it yet because the line moved around a little bit. I'm waiting to see what it was. Speaking of those same game kind of parlays, I ran Saquon Barkley 60 yards and A.J. Dillon 40 yards. It's kind of simple, but I think both of those teams are susceptible on the ground. Saquon has some of the best value out of anyone in the league right now, to be completely – or not value, sorry, best opportunity share, right? He touches the ball so much. I've said it before. He's the running back one and the wide receiver number one on this team. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I like him a lot. And then I like Dillon and Jones. I like a lot of these guys on the ground. As for targets through the air, that's where it gets a little bit harder for me. I'm probably staying away from some of that. Maybe Saquon receiving too, but
yeah, no, I wouldn't touch any pass catchers in this game. This game is going to be boring as hell. It's going to be slow. It's just going to be one of those games that you're not going to hate sleeping through. A lot of the Packer games are like that. It's
Daniel Jones can't run. I mean, the guy's also injured. We saw him like last week come back and played like wide receiver for a couple snaps while Saquon Barkley took the ball out of the Wildcat. Like, I don't know how much 5 days is going to do. Like, I even if Daniel Jones is good enough to play, because Daniel Jones is better than Jake Fromm, even at like 50%. So I get why he's starting. That takes out a serious part of his game, which is the mobility. That's been his best part of his game this season. So that's a little bit scary to me.
Yeah, I know. I'm just I have the game cast of the Phillies game over here on the side, and Jose Quintana has 3 strikeouts today. All 3 of them, Kyle fucking Schwarber, dude. The dude is just swinging and missing so much. It is crazy. Let's go to this one. This one, I will take one of them. I love Jamar Chase this week. I will be talking about him shortly here. I just really like this spot for him against the Ravens. Do you have a thought on CD? I haven't really even looked at CD at all.
Yeah, my thought, I bet CD last week. My thought this week is I like Gallup or Noah Brown. I'm gonna bet one of those two, maybe both of them. The thing about CeeDee Lamb, he's been playing in the slot a lot more this season. When you look at guys that this season have matched up the most against non-cornerbacks, so guys that they're getting schemed to match up against safeties and linebackers. Number one is Christian Kirk, who we talked about earlier. Number two is CeeDee Lamb. He's going to see a lot of Jalen Ramsey in the slot this week. That's where he likes to play. That's where his kind of territory is. I think, and the Rams have just been way better against wide receiver ones and way worse against wide receiver twos so far this season. So I like Gallup or Noah Brown in that one more than Lamb. And then for Chase, I like Higgins more. He's getting bracketed all the time. He's a super talented wide receiver. It's not his fault, but I mean, he gets safety help on like almost half of his plays. So it's kind of hard to trust him for me if they finally leave him one-on-one, because we talked about this briefly before the show. Higgins is just going to go for 150 every time. That strategy doesn't work when both wide receivers are really, really good. So it's one of those that maybe it's a good live betting opportunity.
Yeah, maybe just see where they're at, if they're going to actually do it or not. Dude, these teams can't be this stupid, man. They just can't be this stupid. Like, T. Higgins is a wide receiver one on a lot of teams, and they're just going to continue to give him one-on-one coverage with their number two corner. That dude is just going to keep cooking until they switch it. So this one, I think you already answered. I think you kind of already alluded to that.
Yeah, I like it. I like receptions more, though. As ADOT's getting lower and lower every season, so I do like receptions a little bit more. But I like Godwin in general, 100%.
Perfect. Any thoughts on Derrick Henry over 12.5 receiving yards? I know he did have a lot more targets in those last games. I like his rushing a lot this week. I love his rushing prop. It was like 85.5. I thought that number was going to open up a lot higher than what it was. I also think that it's going to be a close game. I think that even if it's a neutral game script, their Titans are obviously going to try to run the football, even if it's a neutral script there. So I leaned damn it. I put it on timeout too. Fuck, dude. I should have just kicked him.
You got to up the timeout from 5 to 10 minutes, okay?
Yeah, I just blocked it. No, but yeah, dude, that just really fucked with me. That really fucked in my head there, because I thought I was done with them. Usually, once I get rid of them once, I'm done with them. But yeah, no, I'm on his rushing here in this game. I do get the receiving though. He has gotten a lot more targets than I expected him to get.
Yeah, can I just say though, his routes are really unsustainable. He's ran like 10 routes in the last 2 weeks. Like his targets
gets everything. He just gets everything when he's out there.
Yeah, like his targets per route run are like by far the highest out of anyone with like these minimum snap requirements. Like it's insane. Like he's actually running way less routes than you might think. He's almost has a catch per route run. I believe it was 0.69. So a catch on 69% of routes run. That's an insane number, and that means regression, right? The thing is, Washington's linebackers can't cover a brick. So, you'll have plenty of chances. They also can't tackle. So like
that's what I mean. Yeah. And like if and this is what we bring this up in NBA when we do NBA pass to prop, we bring this up all the time in NFL too, is if the Titans had an ideal game, especially without Treylon Burks, Derrick Henry gets 35 rush attempts and Tannehill throws the ball like 15 times. Yep. Like that's literally what they want to do. So if I had to choose, it's definitely rushing like 100%. If you really think the receiving is a spot, maybe just do the combo yards. But especially with no Treylon Burks, man, I just think that he's going to run this dude into the ground. That's why I think 86.5 is disgustingly low. And I already bet that one. That's already on my card already as well. There's just so much volume. Like this dude has so much volume. It's crazy. Yep. What was the 8? Is that the Packer game? 8? I think he's talking about the Packer game.
Yeah.
Do you think the Giants have a chance at +8?
Well, just the Packers are so slow. It normally keeps everything closer. The problem is, like I said, I just don't want non-mobile pocket passer Daniel Jones. That sounds like a nightmare. I mean, like, think about that. Non-mobile Daniel Jones sounds absolutely atrocious. So just a pass for me, honestly.
Non-mobile Jones, and who's running routes?
Richie James.
Yeah, you're having Richie James up against Jair, bro.
Did you see Kadarius Toney injured his
Both
other
hammies.
hamstring?
Yeah, both
What is
hammies, dude. I was dying. I was dying reading that, dude. I was like, how? How does that even happen? Like, I just don't know how they're going to score, dude. I really don't. Unless Saquon breaks something, which obviously could easily happen. I'm not going to ever put that past anybody, but you're going to have to hope Saquon just pops off. And then you should just bet Saquon. You shouldn't even bet the rest of this team, or else it's just going to be torture. This one, I think, is up your alley, talking about Kareem Hunt at plus 1,200. Yeah, I mean, he didn't punch in last week, right? I think he was close, though. He's still getting everything in the red zone.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that it's kind of surprising, right? That I mean, he's got all these opportunities, but like you said, he hasn't punched in. I agree, especially if we get this high scoring matchup. I think Hunt should have plenty of opportunities once again. So I think that is some pretty solid value for a guy that's seeing a vast majority of the red zone plays.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, obviously, plus money Bob's going to give us some big bangers there for sure with that number. I do not think we have any other questions here. Let's go to our touchdown. Actually, no, let's do our recap and then we'll get to our touchdown parlay. If you guys have any other questions, drop them in there and hopefully we'll get to them soon. I'll get to the recap here. So anybody else, the 30 of you guys who are still with us, hit that like button, and here are all of the plays that we went over through for today.
Yep, starting out Terry McLaurin over 23.5 longest reception, playing that one for half a unit. Then going Christian Kirk over 65.5 receiving yards, minus 110. Then I'll be tailing Justin Herbert over 280, but like I said, not really one of my favorites ever.
Yep, I'll be tailing on Herbert. I'll be going on the over with Carson Wentz completions, and also will be going with Mr. Gritty, Zach Wilson over 220.5 passing yards for 1 unit apiece there. And we're heading to our anytime touchdown spot. I think Sunday. Did we cash ours on Sunday or was it Monday last time?
Yeah,
I think it might have been Sunday. Or no, Monday night. So this is our Sunday one. Let's get a Sunday one.
Yeah, I'm going Hurts, Jalen Hurts. I actually bet Hunt last week, which is funny that he brought that up. Hurts, I keep saying it. I wish I could do this every single week, and I probably just should do Hurts every week. I mean, the red zone opportunities he gets are better than anyone else in the league, really. I mean, he's the quarterback, so obviously he touches it, but they're letting him roll out. They're letting him kind of have those option plays almost every single time they get into the red zone. So I love Hurts right here. And yeah, highest total on the slate as well against the Cardinals. I'm expecting not a blowout, so I'm expecting a high scoring game. And I think Hurts should at least be able to run one in. So got to go with Hurts at plus money right here.
Yeah, I'm going to go on Jamar Chase. I think he's like plus 130. Ton of red zone usage. Love to see that. He's got a touchdown in 2 of the 4 games so far this year. Ravens are the worst in yards allowed to wide receivers. And I think this is the game that we kind of see a pop off. One of those 60-yarders that we've seen from Chase in the past. Obviously, we've seen what happened in the Ravens when they played against Tyreek. And I think that having Jalen Waddle there definitely helped out Tyreek getting over the top. And I think that that's exactly what you're going to have to see here with T. Higgins taking that same kind of vibe there. So I think we're going to see a bomb here. I think we're seeing a bomb to Jamar Chase. Might only have like 3 receptions on 12 targets, but hey, I think if we get one into the end zone here, 9 targets every single game too. So I really like Chase here. We got some comments in the chat here. Brian bringing up one more here for sure. Ramondre Stevenson. I know that you were talking about him in our last show for DFS. I'll let you take this one if you want to talk about him.
Yeah, I like the look too. The only thing, it moved up when I was looking at it from 51 to 55, like while I was scrolling through before the show. So that was a little annoying. If it's back to 51, that's good. I would say rushing and receiving, I'm waiting to see the line as well. I like his usage in the receiving game. We finally seeing it take off a little bit more, especially 4 targets last week was Zappy, or 4 catches, 5 targets, I want to say, was Zappy in there in an offense that I don't know if it's going to actually be able to throw the ball down the field. So we might see a lot of checkdowns.
Yeah, no, I don't. Like I said, I think both of them pop off. I think him and Damian Harris both pop off. But yeah, they were using Ramondre within the 20s, and then they were giving Harris that goal line work, at least against the Packers there. So I think both of them pop off. I think 71.5 on rushing receiving was not terrible. I wish it was a little bit lower though.
Yeah, I was hoping for maybe 66, but you got to pay that tax when you play them together, unfortunately. But yeah, that'll be in consideration this week. I think he has a good week.
Awesome. Well, that is it, guys. That is all we got for you today. Kick it over to you, Stu. What do you got for the people before we head on out today? A pretty nice slate, but definitely this one feels a little bit harder than the ones we kind of had lately.
Yep. No, I mean, if you want to make sure to keep up with all of our content, we're both going to have a lot of stuff this week. So make sure to follow us on Twitter. Both of our names are obviously, let's see if I can point correctly right there. So yeah, you can go check out our plays. Obviously, make sure to check out Pickett and the DraftKings contest as well. Like you said, it was in the description of the last video, and it'll be in the description of this one. Come try to beat us. Our Bailey Zappi and Zach Wilson lineups will be in contention. So it's $100 free. All you got to do is be over on Pickett. Also, by the way, follow Pickett on Twitter. These guys have like a new giveaway every single day. You guys want to be on this app. It's a completely free app, a bet tracker, odds comparison, and they're just giving away tons of money. I like free money. You like free money. Let's just all get more free money. So make sure to go check out Pickett. Code PTP gets you between $3 and $100 for signing up. You don't have to do anything. You just have to sign it for the app. They'll Venmo you between $3 and $100. It's really simple. And yeah, you go get more content from both of us. I'll be posting prize picks for the weekend over there. Tons of stuff like that. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, no, definitely go pop over there. We always are dropping some more stuff. I dropped a couple articles over there that I didn't drop on Twitter. It's fun. It's easy. We get to have a little bit more. We can kind of be ourselves a little bit more. Twitter's kind of being a little bit more of like us trying to make it look a little bit more professional. So it's a different vibe up there for sure. But thank you guys for popping in on this different time. I'm pretty sure we'll be back to our normal timing and stuff for next week, though. Everything will be the same. 2:00 Monday, Wednesday, noon on Friday. So excited to break down another one. I'm hoping we get another sweep. That would be awesome and get that unit size moving up there. We're at that 4.5 so far this year. Hopefully we'll be able to keep killing it. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck on all your bets. Again, if you have any other questions, you guys know where to find us over on Twitter, and we will have the DK description in there below, right? So make sure you guys sign up. Again, we're trying to get it filled. Hopefully we'll be able to continue to keep doing this contest for you guys. So have a good one, guys. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you guys on Monday. Peace.